Hi everyone and welcome back. Today's video is going to be on how to get a flawless base. Usually the base is the biggest problem for everyone because you have a lot of products out there. You don't know what's good for your skin, you don't know what's compatible with your skin. It's kind of difficult to choose accordingly and find the products that go well together so that you can achieve the kind of finish you are looking for. Personally, I prefer my base to be high coverage, but also to look very natural, to look very light, to look flawless. These are my main. I'm not very keen on necessarily to have that dewy or super luminous or just that minimum coverage. I like it to be there, but also to be very natural and look as, you know, just flawless and beautiful as possible, like probably like most people. Because either way, if you like it full coverage or not, you want it to look beautiful. I know when I started to do makeup, I was very obsessed with eyes, so I would pay so little attention to my base. I would always be so focused on my eyes to get them to make them super colorful, to make them super complicated, to make them, I don't know, because I never managed to make them how I wanted anyways, but I would never ever pay attention to my base. As I would just slap on some foundation, just some blush and whatever, and I thought that would do the trick because the eyes are the most important thing, which I was so wrong. Because obviously if you have a bad base, then regardless on how nice your eye work is, or how nice lips you have, or what kind of brows on fleek you have, it's kind of not, it will not look very flattering, only because, you know, the base is the most important. So yeah, I have managed to find the products that work perfectly for me. I've been using them for a while now. To be honest, I've been using this combination the most out of all of the things I have ever used, and this combination has worked for me without fail every single time. So in this video I'm going to show you how I do my base, what I usually like to use and how I apply it, and maybe this will be helpful for you. So then if you want to see how I do my base, then just please keep on watching. Okay, so first things first, I always start with washing my face first, and after that applying some moisturizer, whatever works for you. I usually let it sit for about 10 minutes before I start with my primer. The one I'll be using today is the Makeup Revolution Pro Base Blur Primer. That's also an illuminating one. Actually, out of the whole bunch that I have, this one worked kind of the best, so I'm gonna use this one. You can use whatever primer works for your skin and whatever finish you want to go for. Okay, so I'm just gonna pop this. Basically just everywhere. Okay, so after massaging that in, I'm gonna let it sit for a while, just a tiniest bit, and I'm gonna move on to my foundation. For foundation, ever since I got it, I swear I've never used anything else. The Dermacol is absolutely amazing. With any other foundations that I had, I always used to love them at first, and after a while they would look different or not as spectacular as they looked when I first applied them. But with this one, I can make it work no matter what. I've been also using it when I want to do like a pretty simple look. I will just put a foundation and top it with some MAC Mineralized Skin Finish powder, just add a little bronzer, and it looks absolutely perfect. I know the primer looks a little bit oily, but actually it works really well with this foundation and with... I don't know if I used it with other foundations, or I might have, but I've been using it a lot with this one and they work together just perfectly. So The color I am in Dermacol is 210. That is kind of an equivalent for MAC NC15, NC20. So if you ever have problem with shades, this might be a good point for you to start. Again, you only need the tiniest amount, just like a pea-sized amount. There. I'm just gonna basically dab it all over. What I really enjoy about this foundation and what it makes it work so nicely is that even though it's so high coverage, it has the ability to look so incredibly natural and so flawless and without like caking up, and it never ever looked heavy, or it never ever felt heavy on the skin, which is it's quite odd, isn't it? Because with higher coverage foundations, they're usually more heavy than a lightwear one. That's why usually people go for a lightwear one in the day to feel and look less like you would have less product on. But with this foundation, it's definitely not the case. So I'm just gonna take a brush and I'm gonna buff this all over. How I like to buff it is just kind of press the brush onto the skin and maybe drag it a little bit, but not too much. Just like press. It's more of a pressing movement, like this, like dabbing and pressing. Okay, now after I've applied it with a brush, I always take a beauty sponge. I have here the Real Techniques one, and this is super damp, and I just go over everything. This will help eliminate any excess that you might have or any brush strokes and leave you with the best result that you can get out of it. What you can do now is, if you want a simple look and a very easy look, you can add a powder on top and some bronzer and you're good to go, and it will look perfect. But when I do a full face of makeup, I will also cream highlight and cream contour, and then I will set that. So this is what I'm gonna do now. So I'm just gonna take my Artist of Makeup highlight and contour sticks, and I'm gonna use those. I usually don't use concealer because ever since I got this foundation, it's so high coverage that I don't need to use concealer anymore. And also I don't have such a bad situation under my eyes. But yeah, I'm just gonna take some and I'm gonna add it on the areas that I would like to highlight. So I will add some under my eyes. You don't need to add too much because, well, obviously I did add a lot, but when you blend it, they do expand, the product expands, and also it blends out super easy, so you don't need to worry about adding too much. Just add whatever you feel like and see how it blends for you, and you can go from there. I'll add a little bit of my chin, on my nose, and on my forehead, like so. I used to add it very close to my lower lash line, but that is definitely something that can make your fine lines even more visible. So a good way is just to apply it like maybe a centimeter lower, and then when you blend it, the product would go there, and it will go like the perfect amount of product will end up being where it's supposed to. As you can see, I can blend it very, very easily. They do have two shades of cream highlighters. The other one is, I think, for an NC35 and up. That is definitely more yellow tone, and this is, a lot of people, this is a little bit more cooler, and a lot of people say that it's a little bit too white. The thing is, if you feel that a concealer or a highlight is it's much too white for your skin, you can always take a powder that is your skin tone, or even one shade lighter than your skin tone, and apply it on top, and that will balance perfectly the whiteness and make it look more natural or more toned down. Okay, now I'm gonna take the contour stick. I'm gonna contour just tiniest bit. Not too much, just to have a little bit of color and definition. I'm gonna take a brush, and again this will blend out super easily, and always remember to blend it upwards. So quite a difference. Like, they're so creamy and they blend so beautifully and look so natural. This is why I love them, and I always use them, and I always recommend them to everybody. Okay, so that is done with the cream part. I'm gonna set everything. The best powder that I always use, and I think it's just the most beautiful powder to put on top of your foundation, is the MAC Mineralized Skin Finish powder. I have mine in Light Plus. This is exactly what it says. It does exactly what it says. It gives you the perfect skin finish. It's very light. It has the tiniest bit of coverage, but it also has this tiny sheen to it that it's not visible when you actually put it on your whole face. If you swatch it and you look at it, it's not completely matte, and it has this nice little sheen and luminosity to it. But when you put it on your face, it just balances everything perfectly without making your face look like it has a ton of product on it, because I obviously added the primer, foundation, the cream highlight, the cream contour, and I'm adding powder. So it doesn't make your face look like it has a ton of product or a layer of cement that is gonna crack when you smile. So I did try different ones, and every single one, especially on this area here, looked very dried on my face and also very noticeable. What I'm gonna use to set the contour is, again, another mineralized skin finish. This is in dark. The thing with this one is I was supposed to get the Care Blend one, only the nice lady in MAC either made a mistake, either she didn't know what she was doing, and I ended up with the mineralized skin finish. To be honest, I don't hate it. I never thought I would get this to bronze contour with. I usually prefer, for contour, I prefer a warmer shade, because personally I think it looks better on my skin than a more cooler shade. So yeah, that's why I tried this one, and I also don't hate it. So I'm just gonna use that. If you want to use it on your own without having any cream contour, then you would need to add some sort of another contour or bronzer that is a little bit more intense, because definitely this has a much more natural finish to it. So that's why I use the cream contour, so I can top it off with this and not to have like a super harsh situation going here, and just to have the most natural result possible, but still to look defined. Yeah. Okay. I think I'm gonna just use a blush from this Morphe palette. I think I'm gonna, these are like my favorite blushes, my favorite shades of blushes, like this kind of mauve, rosy, dusty rosy colors. I don't know why. Add the tiniest bit. And if you ever feel that you added too much or it's hard to blend, take your powder brush that you use to put your powder on your face and just blend that in, and it will help tone it down if it's needed. And now for highlight, I'm gonna use the Mary Lou from the Balm and just add that everywhere. And I usually go up the temples and on my forehead a little bit, on my chin a little bit, Cupid's bow nose. Honestly, they need to do like a big highlight the size of my face, and I could just, well, not that, but I could just roll my face in it, and that would be just perfect. And I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Sometimes with highlighters, they might be so intense and so pigmented that if you add a little bit more, if you're a little bit more heavy-handed, you can end up with that kind of visible stripe on your face. It's not the case here, but if you do have that situation, you can always take your beauty blender, your beauty sponge or whatever sponge, and just go over the edges the tiniest bit, and this will help blend them perfectly in your skin and in your contour and blush, or however you want to blend them. So just do that. I always just go in between the eye and the highlight, and it gives me the perfect blended without looking harsh thing. And also, if you feel that you've added too much in some areas, you can go on top with the sponge and it will tone it down. Okay, so this was it with the base. It was quite simple. It's not that big of a deal. It's just a matter of finding the right products for you and applying them in a correct way, or in a way that works for you. I'm gonna finish up my face and I'm gonna be right back. Okay, that was it with the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them down below. I'm sorry I'm kind of inconsistent with filming. It's kind of hard for me to get a proper day. Well, having a little one is kind of difficult getting a proper day. Today it hasn't been perfectly quiet so that I can, you know, have a little space to do this. But yeah, that's the reason why I'm kind of inconsistent, but I'm definitely working on that. That was it with today's video. I'll see you next time. Bye!